Kia ora whānau. Listen, we're carrying on here with our chiefs. And of course, our most famous and infamous was a chief known as named Ihaka Whaanga. In his time, when he was a young man, Ihaka Whaanga was known to have been an aggressive man. He was a toa, and he was a champion in his own rights. He was because of his tāmoko on his face, he was an arikinui. Himself and the chief down in Hawke's Bay, Te Hapuku. Hapuku was also a paramount chief of the time. So there were two of them ruling in different areas at the time, but both Kahungunu descent. And of course, I will add this, that most of this kōrero, if all this kōrero I have comes from Uncle Sonny. When I was living at Oraka, every few days Uncle Sonny would pop in and visit me, and we'd have a kōrero. He loved to talk about his tipuna. And I asked him things, and at one time, because I'd heard that he was a kūpapai and this but when I asked Uncle Sonny, it was sort of explained to me properly what the man's prowess was, what he was good at, and what he did. Like Ihaka Whaanga, all right, he ran with the kawanatanga, but he did it for the good of his people. And, he kept this Mahia Peninsula clear of any factor that came from Heretonga or Wairarapa or even, out of the districts. But in his time, he was quite a formidable man. So, and I respect Uncle Sonny that much that I don't have an evil whakaaro of Ihaka Whaanga. He was just a mighty man. He was a very old man when he died, and of course, all his deeds or whatever he did were before Uncle Sonny and his family. So their mum, so he had become quite old, and well, he wasn't very old, but he was getting older and he was getting tireder. And of course, he was quite an old man when he was in Mahia, and his demise was very sad. Ihaka Whaanga. Well, one thing I will add, he had property next to us. He owned a section of the Aona Whangawihi blocks, so he did rule all over the land. He sort of, it was his realm, the peninsula. But sadly, he perished in a fire behind the Mokotahi Hall and right up near the hills. And it was sad, and Uncle Sonny related these things to me, that it was an accidental death because of his age too, and him living on his own, in his own kauta, because nobody was thing enough to live by him or even near him. So he was so high in esteem that he was on his own. And I even heard that he was fed with a stick. That's talking about status. Fed with a stick in his little kauta, with his hands behind his back. Now, also his tāmoko. According to Uncle Sonny, his tāmoko resembled, and of course Hapuku, they resembled that of Kahungunu, of his tipuna Kahungunu. So he adored Kahungunu. He really spoke, they say that he wanted to be buried next to his tipuna Kahungunu, who I was shown an area, but I was told that Kahungunu is buried up there on Tarapaikia, but not on the main one, but on the other end of it, because it was a big whale and only the roadway split it. So, thanks to my whanaunga, Irene Taumata, she stopped people from taking sand in that vicinity. She was managed to protest and people stopped taking sand from that vicinity where I believe Kahungunu is buried above. And so, grateful to her for that. Te ora koe Irene. And, well, Ihaka Whaanga wanted to be buried there next to his tipuna because he's, like I said, his tamoko, it gave him the rights of whakapapa. So he was a paramount chief like Te Hapaku. They both had whakapapa access. They had knowledge of whakapapa, which was usually a woman's or queer's realm, that. But no, he was known to have hold whakapapa status. And sadly too, he wanted to be buried on top of Tarapaikia. Uncle Sonny, but I'll leave it at that. I'll leave it at that because, Uncle Sonny was always sad when he talked about his tipuna. But no, there was never any need to be in my books. The man was either infamous or famous, and we only know his latter life, so he brought up some nice people. So, kia koutou, nā whaanga, nā hekenga a te koroua nei, tēnā koutou. Tēnā koutou, mate atua koutou, he manaki tiaki, pēnei ia ia nei. Just like him. So bless you and be safe from this damn corona. Kia ora mai koutou.